Well, joining us on the Coach's Corner is Cody Skinner, head coach for the men's and women's swimming team. Cody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brent, for having me. Looking forward to it.
Well, you're going into your fifth season with the Wasp, and swimming is one of those sports that I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it's been around forever, but it actually hasn't been. The women's team has actually been around for less than a decade, and the men's team just started a few years ago. So I actually want to start with the men's team, believe it or not. Few coaches actually get to launch a program. Talk to me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was one of the reasons that drew me to the position here at Emory Henry. I always thought it'd be cool to kind of establish a program of my own, bring in my own cultures, not really have to worry about carrying things over from the previous regime, kind of building the image that I want to see it going. It was a really cool process. I mean, it was a tough process at first because I was a young coach, only coming fresh off as being an assistant. So first couple months were kind of a deer in the headlights look for me because I was kind of worried and nervous, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? But like once I started getting here and the support of the other coaches on staff that have been here, they were very helpful with me, introducing me to people in the area, different people at the school to kind of help me out, kind of get the word out that we are starting a men's program. Even though we do already have a women's team already established. I think it also helped the women's team on the other end because some girls were hesitant on coming to a school that just had only a women's team. Even though we're a co-ed school, they were like, well, I'm used to swimming with guys my whole life, or I train better with male athletes. So it kind of benefited both programs. But no, it was just really cool to be able to kind of establish this and like just know when I leave Emory Henry, if I don't leave Emory Henry, if I stay here or whatever my plans are, when I retire, I can look back and say like, hey, look, this is what I did with my life. I started this program and got it kind of off the ground.
And the team's come along quite a bit in just those 3 seasons, including a 7th place finish at last year's conference meet. You graduated 2 young men that I'm pretty familiar with, Jared Bracero and Nick Barr. Both of those guys, I have to be honest with you, part of my beloved fraternity, Beta Lambda Zeta. But the rest of the team, Cody, 5 freshmen, including Luke, who was having this fantastic season, 3 sophomores. You got to feel pretty good moving forward.
I do feel pretty good. We have a really good transfer and some good guys coming in the fall, and I'm really excited to kind of work with them. I just always like to think that we're kind of a team of underdogs. I mean, a lot of these kids have talked about how they're overlooked during the recruiting process, and I was really the coach and the team that kind of really showed the most interest and most trust in them coming in, and they're really kind of buying in, and I'm really excited to see where we're going. Luke, just like Luke, he's our second man ever to be named all conference. We had a gentleman, Wilson Knapp, the first year I took the program over. When I started, he was all ODAC the first year we started the men's team. One of the only 2 new teams that ever did that. So a little proud fact when we first started that. Lynchburg came in and did the same thing their first year too. So that's great for them. But yeah, Luke was named, I think Joe posted his DHISD second team all state. So of all the schools in all Virginia, he's one of the kids selected on that team. So that's a first for our team, and it's a great honor for the men's program. But yeah, we're going in the right direction and just see it getting better and better from here on out. Just bringing in the right kind of people, the right staff. And I think the boys I have here have really kind of bought into my vision and my mission with the men's program and really are eager and excited to see it grow just as much as I am.
On the women's side, Cody, the program has seen some success in the short time that has existed. Most noticeably, those teams that were kind of led by Michaela Nolte, who you coached in your first year while you were at Emory. This year, the women finished 6th at the ODAC conference meet. But like on the men's side, you guys are so young. You graduated some really good seniors, including Olivia Anson. But you got one more senior, I think, next year, and then a bunch of underclassmen. Talk about the women's anticipation for that season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about these senior girls. Liv and Savannah, who both graduated this year, have a really special place in my heart. They're the first girls that I saw go all the way through 4 years. Taylor Simmons is a girl that's coming back next year as well. She would have been a senior last year, but she's in that 5-year special education program. So she went to Spain last year, got cut short due to COVID, but she's going to come back as her senior year. She's kind of sat the year out. I'm excited to kind of have her back. So we kind of have a little bit of senior leadership, but those junior girls we have coming up, those are girls I love too. I mean, they're going to be great leaders in the future, and they're going to be able to help carry this team from there on out. And the freshman girls, we have a very strong freshman girls class coming in. I think a lot of them are going to be immediate impacts on our team. I'm very excited to get them in the water and be able to work with them. Who knows what that's going to look like in the winter when I start swimming, like what with social distancing, the guidelines I got to follow with swimming. But it's very excited. I mean, Liv left the program. I mean, in recruiting speeches, Liv's the girl I always talk to people about because, I mean, she's the one that bought in from day one. And if you look at her progression over the 4 years, she's dropped a lot of times from when she came in as a freshman to when she left as a senior. I think, and she's the kind of girl that will do whatever I ask from whatever I need her to swim, try new events. She's a very all-around kind of athlete that any coach would love to have. And it was very sad that I didn't get to say an official goodbye to her in person because the school year kind of ended the way it did. But I know I'm going to miss her. I know I have much love for her, but these girls that we have coming back are just as important to me as losing these senior girls. We're returning an all ODAC swimmer from her freshman year, so we're going to have some good talent coming in. But I think the girls team is just going to keep growing. I mean, they're both young programs, and hopefully the next couple of years will kind of make that big jump in the ODAC standings that I've been talking about. It's going to come, it's going to come, it's going to come. It's just we just had some races not go our ways. We had some people that were sitting at 16th and 17th and 18th at ODAX, which is just outside of the finals, which scores. So if those girls would have jumped in, it would have been a different meet for us. But you can't look at the past and look towards the future. And I think some of them left with a little bit of chips on their shoulder. I know the boys left a big chip on their shoulders at the ODAC meet, and I know they're hungry and eager to get back in that pool and kind of make another push for that because we were seated at 7th on the men's side, and that's where we finished. But I think they're just excited to kind of prove the ODAC wrong that, hey, we're here, we're not a team to mess with. And the women's team just the same. I mean, we finished 6th this year, but I definitely don't think we were the 6th best team in the ODAC. I definitely think we're in the top 5 of the ODAC top 4. So, I mean, we're a really strong program. But I think it's just the sleeping giant that we're just waiting to kind of explode onto the scene. I think once we get there and just the kids we're recruiting, just bringing in the right people, it's going to be a great 4 years down the road. So
it's always so hard to say goodbye to these kids, but the good news, Cody, as you know, and I know, that Emory and Henry is such this community-based place that we know that we're going to see them for years and years, and that they'll come back and visit. And Emory and Henry never leaves you, even after you've walked across that graduation stage. And I think that it kind of ties in a little bit to the next question I wanted to ask you about, which is that I think you have a really fun word that kind of describes the culture of your team. So let's talk about Swamily and talk to me about what that is and exactly what that means.
So I don't know exactly. It started year 3 with us. That's kind of when the whole Swamily thing, that's kind of when I took a look at our culture, and I was happy where we were at, but I think always there's room to improve on that. So I kind of was like, hey, we need to find a word, a phrase or something. And it was kids on the team. I would just overhear them saying Swamily, hey, where's my Swamily at? And I was kind of like, looked at it like, what are they talking about? And I just went with it because I was like, hey, they all say it. So we actually put it on our conference shirt one year and our lifting shirt. So we just went with it. The Swamily, it's kind of our swim family. It's your family away from home. It's just something that I preached during the recruiting process. Like, hey, we're a family here. It's the kind of atmosphere you want to be a part of. We're all for each other, supporting each other, building each other up when we're down, raising each other up to our standards. So, I mean, Swamily just kind of encompasses like, hey, we're your family, your swim family away from home. Because I like to think that my kids can come talk to me. I don't say I'm like a dad. I say like I'm a cool uncle because I'm not that old. So I'm like a cool uncle you can come talk to, but I'm not going to be like your dad. And I mean, I think it's just my kids will tell you if you talk to them that I'm willing to go above and beyond to kind of make sure that their needs are being met at Emory and Henry. And it's just like you said, it's a family feel, so I don't feel uncomfortable talking to anybody on campus about issues like that because I don't think they'll listen with an open mind and kind of give me some feedback if I need to, if I'm wrong, because obviously there's 2 sides to every story, so it's always hearing people out. But it's like you said, though, going back on, it's like there's something in the water on campus, and I've started drinking it, and I'm starting to feel the same way that everybody else has. That's what I tell people. People told me that when I first got here, there's something in the water, and I think I've been drinking a lot of it. So,
well, as a fellow Midwesterner, buddy, I came down here in 1998, and I haven't left. So just settle in because it could be a long ride.
Oh, yeah. I lived up in upstate New York, and I kind of had to readjust to that southern Midwestern culture because up there you just don't have a lot of small talk with people that I've realized. And when I came down here and first time I was in the grocery store and the lady checking me out asked like, hey, how's your day going? I kind of gave her a weird look like, why are you talking to me right now? And I kind of had to be like, oh yeah, this is how people act elsewhere in the country. So I'm glad to be down here. I mean, it's great me and you both grew up in Indiana and I grew up in Ohio, and I appreciate the lack of snow that we have down here for sure. So
Absolutely.
Weather, can't complain about the weather. So I don't see why. I don't blame you for not leaving.
Well, I want to ask you about your coaching style because I love getting inside of a coach's mind when they're in the middle of competition. So how would you describe yourself as a coach during meets in particular?
I guess you can ask the kids. There can be two different me's at a meet. It's whether or not I had my energy drink that morning. If I have an energy drink in the morning at a meet, I am insane. I am jumping, yelling, screaming. I'm like that normally without it, but like it's amped up to another level. Like I had other coaches come over to me at a meet and we're like, "Are you all right? Like you're getting really pumped up over here." I go, "Yeah, we're doing really great." And we keep it going. And the kids, once I started doing that, the kids started getting in just with me. So they were jumping, holding me back and jumping with me, screaming, yelling. But at meets, that's my thing. I'm trying to be the hype man. I got to bring the energy and try to get the teams up. And Jared Bracero was another one. He was my inspiration for trying to become a hype man because I just saw the way he yelled and jumped around. I was like, I got to get on his level. I can't be below him, and I'm the coach. So during meets, I'm the hype man. But like during practice, I'm calm, cool, and collected. I mean, I'm not going to be the kind of coach that like is in your face screaming, yelling, like you need to go faster, faster, faster. I mean, I always try to find some like constructive criticism, like, hey, like let's go faster, and like, but this is why. Like, let's try to work on this with your stroke, and let's see how that speeds up. It's just trying to be nice and trying to keep the even keel during practice. And obviously, with having an assistant coach and something like that, so sometimes they can bring the energy that I don't bring and the lack thereof. But I think my coaching philosophy is kind of just go with the flow, be cool, and just stay calm because, I mean, swim practices can be brutal. And just yelling on top of them, some kids can just shut down, and it's not good for anybody. So
You mentioned swim practices being brutal. One of the hallmarks of your program has been this infamous training trip to Florida that you guys have taken in the past during the month of January. It sounds awesome, but I have a feeling you're not just going to Harry Potter World. I have a feeling that there's some other stuff going on.
It's the fun week, but you never once you're done, you never want to go back to it again. It's fun while you're in the moment because, I mean, we're down there. We're in the sunny weather usually. I knock on wood, we haven't had bad weather when we've gone down in the past. I try to stay as close to the beach as possible. So in between workouts, they can go relax even after workouts. One year we had 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. practice, and then 11 to 1. So like they would swim in the morning, sleep until the next, and then in the afternoon at the beach. So it's a fun trip, but like our main goal down there is to get some work in and get some yardage in, get a meet in if we can. But yeah, it's a tough week. It's 4 hours of practice each day. Sometimes it's 5 hours, and you got to swim. You do some dry land stuff. So it's a pretty tough trip. The kids are beat down and tired. I actually had the privilege of staying with a couple of our boys in a condo this year. Except that was an experience of it in its own, just realizing that who can cook, who can't cook. Just their conversations I was hearing when I was in my room, and I would poke my head out and just shake my head at them. Some of them are also in your fraternity, some of your other boys, but it was a fun trip. But I told them, I go, I don't think I want to room with you guys ever again.
No, you learn a lot about the golf team. Took a trip a couple of years ago to Myrtle Beach, and I'd never been with them for that long of a period of time. And when you have that kind of like you're living in their world, it's a little bit of a culture shock sometimes because you start to realize how old you are.
Yeah.
And it's different.
It makes me think back, like, was I like this when I was in college on my swim team?
Yes.
And that was one of the first things I did when I got the position here was I called my coach and I was like, hey, I'm sorry for anything I ever did to annoy you because I know your pain now. And he's like, it's all right. He goes, it's karma coming back to you because I was always a goofy kid in practice, just cracking jokes and stuff. And now when I got a team full of them, then I'm kind of like, oh, wow. I can't imagine him putting up with one of me. I have to put up with 11, 12 of these guys. So, but I love them to death. They're great guys. They make it interesting. They make me want to come to work every day.
Cody, I want to ask you about, service is a big part of what we do in the King Center. And you guys got involved with a really cool organization that deals with water safety. So can you share with the people a little bit about what exactly Levi's legacy is and what it meant to the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that it's bad and good kind of situation. Just because Nicole, who founded Levi's Legacy, lives in Bristol, Tennessee, about 30 minutes from our campus. Unfortunately, her son Levi passed away at the age of 2 while they're on vacation in Alabama. Snuck away from the family while they're making dinner and just fell into the pool. So The big thing about that is just getting kids into swim lessons as early as possible, because what they were saying was, hey, we'll get him into swim lessons next year. But then next year's not always given. So they're partnered up with an organization called ISR. It's a very great swimming organization. I think I highly suggest it for parents that have young infants that are trying to get their kids into the water. But with us and our partnership with them is just trying to help spread awareness to this, I didn't know this until I met Nicole, that the leading cause of death for children under the age of 4 is drowning. And it just blew my mind that happens all the time. And I mean, it's just a great organization. Like, we're trying to still kind of build like how we're going to be involved with that. I'm thinking about starting like a swim school, which is more like a learn to swim kind of thing. But I'm not certified for ISR, so I kind of would deal with more elementary school age kids, like preschool age kids. ISR, they can deal with kids under the age of 1. So it's a very intense program, but I mean, your kid will come out of there being able to float and swim on their own. Babies want to naturally float, so it's a survival instinct. So it's just letting them open up to that, let their primal instinct come out and survive. So my stepson actually, he was involved in that program, and he did leaps and bounds from the first time I've seen him swim. With his future dad being a swim coach, you think I can teach him how to swim, but he just, with me and him in water, I don't want to associate that kind of thing with him and me. I want, when we're in the pool together, for me and him to have fun. If he wants to take up swimming, that's great. I'll work with him and help him out in that sense. But I think the initial getting him to learn how to swim, I don't think it would have been a good process, because he likes to play with me, and being in that situation, we won't really listen. So no frustration on both of our ends. But it's a great program. I mean, if you go on Facebook, you just look up Levi's Legacy. There's a link there. ISR, they have a website as well. Just look up there. It's a great thing. I think our kids really enjoyed it. We had a swim meet. You were there for that, where that was last season, though, where we donned caps all with Levi's Legacy for the first race, where you saw all 6 blocks having that cap on their head. I had kids from the teams coming up to me after the meet, being like, hey, do you have any more caps? And I go, no, I wasn't expecting this. So I had to order what I did. And we handed out T-shirts, and I think we ordered over like 250, and they all were gone. It was an insane swim meet. I'm just glad the fire marshal didn't show up that day to the swim meet, because we definitely were over capacity on the pool deck. It was just a great thing. And it's something that we try to look and extend our relationship with Nicole. She's a very busy lady. She's going around the country speaking at conventions and stuff, kind of just trying to spread this awareness. So kind of getting a hold of her sometimes is difficult, but it's completely understandable.
Yeah.
We actually it's sad news, but we just recently had the anniversary of his passing, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, which me, you, and Rachel met with Nicole, was that 3 weeks after it happened? And we were all like, oh, we didn't realize it was this soon. And she was already started this Levi's Legacy thing.
She was pretty amazing, and really has taken to the advocacy part of it. And it's really been amazing.
She's one of the strongest women I know that I've ever met. I can't imagine what she's gone through.
All right, Cody, let's get you out on this question here. I talked to Christine Johnston about, marriage in the time of COVID. COVID's been a time of a lot of change for you. So give us the update. I know that there was planned nuptials. Where are we at? And it looks like you're in a new environment. So I think there's been maybe a move in there as well.
Yes. Actually, when COVID first started happening, actually me and my fiance bought a house together in Bristol. Well, she bought a house. I'm paying her rent. So I'll be honest, I won't lie there. But we bought a house in Bristol. She's a great designer, as you can see around me. She designed the whole house and all the interiors in it. But yeah, that was an interesting process, trying to find some help to move, but we managed to do it all on our own. And a lot of my stuff got thrown away, so we didn't keep a lot of my stuff. So that was even easier. I gave some stuff away.
Good call.
Like the boys' baseball team has my couch in their locker room, because they saw me carrying it, and they're like, "Can we keep this?" I go, "Yeah, sure. I don't want this thing anymore." But yeah, the move was the first part, and then I was supposed to get married in July 18th, up in Philadelphia, PA. But I think the way with the world's going right now with the protest and COVID, I think we just looked at it, hey, we don't know what Pennsylvania is going to do with their opening back up policy. Because I think it was looking like it was going to be good to go. But then with everything else going on, we kind of were like, let's just push this back. It's not going to be worth trying to host a wedding with 25 people. How are we going to be able to do that with all of our family? With over 300 people invited to a wedding, it's hard to pick. So We actually decided to do it over what would be our winter break while the kids are gone. It's usually a week that they're away at home with their families. It's right after Christmas. So we're going to kind of try to do it right there when I can kind of be away for a couple of days and it can work out. Honeymoon is going to be pushed probably towards summer. So, but we're both happy. I just told her, I was like, hey, it's whatever you want to do. It's, I know I'm happy marrying you in a courthouse. I'm happy marrying you in a church. Whatever you want to do and whatever you want to celebrate this, well, I'm on board. So
You got it, Cody. That's the secret to marriage right there, man. Just, especially when you find a good one like Lindsay, just don't mess it up. Just, just keep trudging away. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Coach's Corner, Cody.
No problem. Thanks for having me.